Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 9 o'clock on a Tuesday, which means it's time for another video. And on a Tuesday, we typically run either a Matt test or a Craig test. The Matt test is when I show a trick to Matt and I try to fool him, not difficult. The Craig test is when he tries to show me a trick and he tries to fool me. A combination of very limited experience, very poor sleight of hand, not particularly great at anything, and the fact that I'm awesome in every way, shape and form makes this almost impossible for Matt to ever fool me. And unfortunately, it's going to be a waste of your time, his time and my time. But here we are, it's another Craig test. Hi, Matt.
I think I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Love you, dude.
How you doing?
Are we sponsored by Murphy's Magic today?
We are sponsored by Murphy's Magic.
Nice.
I'll
Nice.
put it on backwards.
It's cute that my daughter and you wear the same baseball hat.
And your son and me wear the same hoodies.
Yes, that's because he wants to be you. No accounting for taste.
I want to be him.
You're kidding? I want to be him. He's like me with hair and talent.
Yeah, I want to be. Everyone wants to be Ryland.
Everybody wants to be Ryland. How are you? It's been a busy week in the office this week, hasn't it?
It has been a busy week in the office. Yeah.
53 bookings yesterday.
In a day.
Not bad. But we're not here to talk about bookings, although you are awesome. We're here to talk about a new trick. New trick.
Yeah.
Now, passing me over. This is by Michael Murray and the team at MindFX.
Yeah.
So MindFX, if you guys don't know, is Michael Murray's company, and he produces some of the best tricks ever for mentalists. And this is, I don't know Steve Haresign. I'm not aware of him. I don't really think I know him. But if Michael Murray is putting his name to a Steve Haresign product, that's all I need to know. And this is Hexology 1 back to back. Now, the reason I gave you this is I have no idea. I did what I normally do, which is just buy a load of stuff in, new stuff. I was like, yep, add to cart, add to cart, add to cart. And when this came in, I opened it up and I looked at the props. I was like, this looks very matte. It is. So, first of all, it's mentalism. It's got to be because it's Michael's company. And then I looked at the props and I was like, this just looks like the sort of thing that you do. So I have no idea. When I buy stuff for the review show, I don't look at the trailer because I don't like to be kind of swayed in one direction or another. I don't read the ad copy. Sometimes I see stuff and things come to my attention, but generally I don't know. I have no clue about this trick.
Okay.
Nothing. Don't even know what it is. Don't even know what it does. Nothing. So I'm really interested in seeing it and then getting your thoughts on it and seeing a performance of it.
Okay, cool. I've kind of put my own kind of performance spin on it.
See, now
really.
I feel proud.
Yeah.
Now, pride.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Of course, that's what you got to do, dude. That's what you got to do, you know, going slightly off track for a second. You got to make the trick your own, else you do end up with an army of people performing exactly the same thing.
Trick, yeah.
And that, for me, is the problem with visual learners. You know, there's a lot of people out there that don't read books. I don't read magic books because I'm a visual learner. I need to see the tutorial, which is fine. But the problem with that is when you're a visual learner, you go out and you perform it the same way as the person who performs it. And I've seen it. I remember a few years ago now, I can't remember when it was. I went to a show and there was a magician on there. It was a show for magicians. It might have been a close-up competition. I can't remember. But I do remember the guy's act. And he started off doing a trick by Jay Sankey and he was all wild and wacky like Jay Sankey. Then he did a trick by Michael Amar and his character changed and he was more like Michael Amar. And he did like 4 tricks and he did them exactly in the style.
So he's just mimicking.
Yeah, it was like a tribute act of some of the greats of magic. And he performed them flawlessly. I mean, the performance was great, but he couldn't...
But none of them are actually him.
Didn't develop his own character. And that's one thing, and maybe that's come from the fact that you've got an acting background, but that's one thing that
I'm a kinesthetic learner. I'm not a visual learner. There's 3 different types of learning. I just hit myself in the face.
I noticed it was hilarious.
Yeah. There's 3 different types of ways of learning things. There's... audible learning, visual learning, and then kinesthetic learning. And I learned a long time ago that I'm a kinesthetic learner, which means you have to do. So I could sit there and listen to somebody telling me how to do something for hours and hours and hours and hours, and it just wouldn't go in. If I actually just do it, then I'll pick it up.
Yeah.
So stuff like this, I sit and watch a trailer for God knows how long, just like, whereas if I just pick it up, like whenever I'm learning a trick, I won't sit there and watch the tutorial.
You've got the props in
I'll
your hand.
have the tutorial on and I'll be doing it as they're telling me how to do it, and then it goes in.
Okay, interesting.
Where Steve, there's like 3 different live performances
on
this. So he's got his own way of doing it. There's loads of information on there if you just want to do it, how it's set, how it's done, how Steve does it. There's loads of opportunities to just sit there and watch how he does it and learn it, and it's great, and he does it really, really well. But I just put my own little spin on it.
I'm excited. I want to see this. I'm really excited. I have no idea what this is. No idea at all.
Well, basically, it starts off with things.
Do you want a pad? Would that help?
Yeah, we can have the pad a little bit. Yeah. Check this out. I get to use the pad. Oh, wow. So it starts off with these. These are, I'm into musical theatre.
Yes.
I love musical theatre. I've had the amazing opportunity of being able to perform musical theatre a few times myself. And I'm also a musician.
So I'll never forget my favourite performance you ever did was Wedding Singer.
Yeah, right. I loved Wedding Singer. And being in bands and whatever, and music speaks to me, and it has done for a long, long, long time. And I went down to London to see a musical called Six.
Oh yeah. I've not seen it, but everyone's raving about it.
Incredible! It's like the second best musical I've ever seen in my entire life. It's phenomenally good, and I've seen.
People are going to ask, what's the best musical?
Dear Evan Hansen.
Okay.
Is the best one I've ever seen.
Okay.
Six is about Henry VIII and his 6 wives.
Okay.
Everyone knows about Henry VIII, everyone knows who he is,
mm-hmm.
And everyone knows that he had 6 wives.
Yep.
But the actual wives themselves, the ladies themselves, they've got very interesting stories of their own.
Okay.
And they've done this whole musical based on the 6 wives. It mentions Henry obviously through it because he's a main part of it, is what connects all 6 of them together. But generally speaking, they have their own stories.
Okay.
And it's a very, very interesting musical as well as a very fun one. And as you come out, which very often happens when you go to theatre shows in the West End, they have things that you can buy to commemorate your trip.
Yeah.
And they had these cards, and they've all got Henry VIII on them on the back. And on the front, there's a picture of each one of his wives.
Okay.
And it's the whole story of the musical is giving you a little bit of background about each wife. So like Catherine of Aragon, she was the first wife of Henry VIII. First ever one. But the interesting story about Catherine of Aragon is she actually married Henry's brother when they were 15.
Oh, wow.
So she married Henry VIII's brother. So effectively, when Henry married her later on in life, he was actually marrying his sister-in-law.
That's weird.
True story. Anne Boleyn. She's another interesting character. So she was...
she lost a head, didn't she?
She was the first person to be beheaded. She was the first one to be murdered effectively by Henry. And there's a saying about her, which her sleeves may be green, but her lipstick was red. And the reason for that is because she found out that obviously being faithful to your partner was not one of Henry's strong points. So he was running around, doing everyone that he could. And she decided that, if he's going to do it, so am I. And Henry found out about it and cut her head off. Anne of Cleves.
Okay.
This is a bit of a sad tale. So Anne of Cleves, that picture, that is the actual portrait that was done of her. So Anne of Cleves had her own portrait done in Germany. She's German. She had her own portrait done to send to Henry to kind of try to woo him. And he's looked at that picture and gone, I'll have a bit of that. She's well fit, right? So he's brought her over, married her. But when she actually got there and took the veil off, she was basically the original catfish. She didn't look like her picture.
Oh, wow.
At all. And it's said in history that Henry took one look at her and just went, no. I don't like how you look, or something in the words of the time. So she ended up not being killed. She died later on, but and she ended up being very good friends with Henry. He trusted her a lot, and they started certain parts of the church together, and they were friends until she died. But they were never romantic in any way because he didn't find her attractive. Catherine Howard, she's the other hussy. So Catherine Howard again found out that Henry was running around with everyone that he could go with, which was pretty much everybody because he was the king of England. She didn't like it, so she started sleeping around with his friends and his colleagues and the people that worked for him, and he found out, and she was the second one to be murdered. They cut her head off. Catherine Parr, very interesting lady. Catherine Parr was the one that outlived him.
Really?
So she was the one that was still around after Henry had died. She doesn't really factor into this because she wasn't killed. And then the last one, Jane Seymour. Now, Jane Seymour was his third wife. and the only one he truly loved.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So she was the one that gave him his son. He had a son with Jane Seymour, but then very shortly after he had Jane's son, she died. But he was besotted with Jane Seymour. He loved her very, very much. And to the point where when he eventually died, he was buried next to Jane Seymour. So now they will lie together for eternity. And really weird, but he was the king, so he could do whatever he wanted. Whenever they had portraits done and pictures done to go around the castles around the UK, even after she died, Henry had her painted into the pictures. Wow. So it looked like she was still there. That's how much he liked Jane Seymour. And then finally, there is the Palace of St. James, which I was like, why have they put a picture of the Palace of St. James in there? It's a very strange thing to do, because that's obviously not one of his wives. That's a building. However, this building was very, very important to Henry. Every time he lost a wife or got divorced or murdered one of them, or one of them died, he would go to the Palace of St. James, and that was like his happy place, his man cave, basically. He used to go there and chill. He used to go there and listen to music. He was even known to have...
Play some PlayStation.
Play some PlayStation, yeah, go on a Discord, that kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? Just chill out, have a chat to his mates, smoke some weed, have a 40. You know what I mean? But so he used to basically go to the Palace of St. James to listen to music. That was how he unwound, that's how he chilled out and forgot about the world and reset himself. He was even known to compose his own music.
Oh, wow.
He was very, very big on music. And he was said to have acknowledged the fact that whenever he was listening to music, that would help him center himself, and it would help him make decisions moving further on in his life. So whenever he needed help with anything, he would sit and listen to music, and the music would guide him to decisions to move forward, which I thought was really interesting, because I've been guided by music loads of times. Like with the way that I've dressed in the past, the way that I've acted on stage, the way that I perform, the way that I think about things, I've been guided by music. And it happens to everyone, I think. It's just how susceptible you are to it and how much you realise it's happening. So I thought we could try something really cool. So we've got this song that I've got from Spotify. You can see who it's by. You know who that is, right?
Bach, yeah.
J.S. Bach. Everyone's heard of him. And so what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can influence you with some music. Okay. Okay. So we're going to put some music on. We're going to put this song on by J.S. Bach.
Okay.
And then we're going to see if we can influence you in some way to make a decision, to see if the music can influence you without you realising it's happening. Okay, so let's put some music on. So we're going to keep playing this until you are happy. And we're going to do this thing that we're going to do now as many times as you want. And I just want you to feel the music. Okay. And when you feel it's the right time to stop, we'll stop. So we're going to put either a card down and say stick, or we're going to swap them over. And that's a swap, okay? So stick or split?
Split.
You want to split, perfect. So it's a split. You want to stick or split?
Split.
Split again. Stick or split?
Stick.
And then the last one, we stick. Do you want to do it again?
Yeah.
Just feel the music. Just let it take you.
Let's do it again.
You want to go again? Okay. Do you want to stick or split?
Stick.
Stick, perfect.
Split.
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 Split again. And then the last one, sticks. Split. Okay. Want to go again, or just feel the music? Just let it.
No, I'm happy. I'm happy.
You want to stay where you are? Okay, perfect. So we'll knock this music off. Sorry, Mike. I know you were enjoying that song, but we'll just turn that off for a sec. I'll send you the track. You can put it back on in a bit. Okay, so you're happy with that, and you felt the music, and the music told you that was where you wanted to stop.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So what we are going to do is take these cards, and we're going to lay them out.
Okay.
And we'll see if you can see any kind of order that the cards are in. Now, you would agree that if we'd have done that one more time, there would have been a completely different order.
Yeah, totally random.
And you decided what you wanted to do, whether you wanted to stick or split. So it's an order that you've generated.
Yeah.
And you've generated that order.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just looking at them, and it doesn't look like it's not in the order that they died or anything. But I mean, there's got to be some kind of order there. Did you feel influenced in any way by the music?
Not really, no.
You didn't?
No.
I think you were influenced by the music, whether you realise it or not. I think that you were.
Really?
Well, I mean, let's have a look at it. So, J.S. Bach was the name of the track. Was the name of the composer.
Yes.
Can you see what it says underneath?
Arranged by you.
Arranged by you. Arranged by, but that's arranged by
you.
Arranged by you.
Yeah.
So that was arranged by you.
Yeah.
And it's a track by J.S.
Bach. Yeah.
J.S.B.A.C.H. J.S. Bach. Arranged by you. And you arranged in the composer's name. And you're telling me you don't feel like you were influenced by the music
Apparently
in any
I
way?
was, Matt.
Apparently you were, and that is the power of music.
Wow. That's cool.
I think so.
That's cool. Now, obviously, I know how that works. Because I've used that principle at least 400 times in various different tricks that I've produced.
A day for the last 30 years.
Yeah, I've used that principle many times. But you know what? I mean, this is great. I really love this as a premise.
It's cool, isn't it?
It's very, very simple. It reminds me a little bit, you probably haven't seen this, it reminds me a bit of a trick called The Moment by Andy Nyman, which is also a similar trick that uses that move, but in a different presentational context, but it's the presentation that's everything.
Yeah.
And it's the same with this.
Well, they state that. He states that on the explanation of it, on the
I love the idea of playing the track.
Yeah, it's
pointing
cool,
out the track and arranged by you and I very clever.
It is very clever. But
clever.
They say that it's all about the presentation. They've actually got an hour's worth of bonus material after the tutorial. So the tutorial is an hour long, and he goes in great detail about how to do it and the move and all the rest of the stuff. And he goes into detail about each character, each lady as well. And he gives you, because he's like, if you don't know, then Catherine of Aragon's famous for this, and Anne Boleyn's famous for this. And I knew, most of the stuff that I said.
Did he talk about 6?
No.
That's all you.
That's all me.
I love that, because here's the problem with this trick for me, and it's not really a problem, but you would think that these days, not as many people would know or care about Henry VIII because of it being history, and a lot of people aren't into history and so on and so forth. But I think 6 is become a global phenomenon.
It has.
Like everybody. So by bringing the hook line around to 6, the musical, now all of a sudden you're grabbing people's attention.
Yeah.
And I think the hook line of, hey, have you ever heard of 6, the musical, is so much better of a hook of, hey, have you ever studied the 18th century and King Henry's wives? I just think that's a much better hook.
Well, I mean, as soon as I saw them, as soon as I opened the packet, and I was like, oh, that's Henry VIII's wives. Oh, perfect. This has got to be able to work into 6. And that was the first thing that came into my head. And obviously they don't mention that within the tutorial or anything, but that was the first thing that came to my head, and I stuck with it. Because, I mean, I love 6. I've seen it. I've been there. I've experienced it. And like I said, a lot of the information that I gave about the ladies, some of that.
Is there any purpose for this card, or is it literally you just have it there?
Just because she's one of them.
Right, okay, but you put her aside because she's right. Okay,
because you don't need her, because they spell out that.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's why you have the Palace of St James there. But yes, as far as I'm aware, no. Like I said, there's another hour's worth of bonus material with Pete Turner and a couple of other guys on there.
Oh, that'll be important then.
No one important, which I haven't actually had a chance to watch yet. So there may very well be other things that you can do with Catherine Parr as well.
But this is the main routine.
This is the main routine that they display, and that is how they say to do it.
I mean, the one thing that I would say about this from a commercial point of view, this isn't the sort of trick that you could do in a busy walk around strolling environment. This is something where it's more of a, you've got people's attention, you're grabbing their attention. This would be perfect for like a social situation or a parlor show where people are invested in your performance. David Penn calls this like a pipe and slippers type magic,
Yeah, makes sense. And he says exactly the same thing during the tutorial, that it is, if you were performing to one person or you were performing to like 2 or 3 people, and you've got the time to really go into it and you can engage them and they're happy to sit there and listen to a story, then it's amazing. But it's not like a walk around trick.
I tell you, if you had the right stage show, I could see this working in a small cabaret quite well.
Yeah.
And having a little stand that you stand them up on and you go, hey, deal or split, and you're putting them into this stand each time, and you're having the music play over the speakers, and you're getting one person that's on stage with you making all of the decisions.
Yeah.
I could see this working really well in a stage situation. Not in my stage show, because you know my stage show, it's like joke, 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 madcap moment, madcap moment. But for somebody like you that's long and boring, somebody like you that's a storyteller, that likes getting the audience invested through the use of stories. I know you're putting a cabaret show together at the moment, aren't you? A mentalism show. This I could see working in a mentalism show really, really well.
I love this. I can relate to this because I knew the stories of the ladies before I even, listened to him. So I knew who they were, and I've seen the show, and even before I'd seen Six, I knew who they were, and I quite like a bit of history. So it relates to me perfectly, and I love it. And I think the trick itself is fantastic. The fact that you get to give a bit of knowledge about each one of the ladies as well, I think is fantastic. And it's super simple. Like literally anybody could do that.
Yeah.
Anyone.
Yeah. Anybody. Anyone could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even you.
Even me.
Thanks for setting me up for that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Really helpful. So what are you going to give it? What are you going to give it?
I love the trick and I love the story behind it, but it's so limited as to where you could do it. That, I mean, I would do it live if I ever got the opportunity to, but I don't know where that would be.
Because it is so simple. It's the sort of thing that you could have, and even if you didn't do it for 6 months, when the opportunity arises itself, you would immediately know how to perform it.
Yeah.
Because some tricks you buy, and it's like, the method, you'd forget it. There's certain tricks where there's like lots of procedure and you'd forget it. You wouldn't forget this. This is something that you would very easily remember.
If I open my close-up case in 6 months' time and saw that, I'd be like, oh yeah, you could just do that whenever, couldn't you? So I'll put it in my close-up case, and if the opportunity ever arises to do it, I will happily do it. But I can't see there being that many opportunities as a working magician.
No.
There's not many situations that I've been in so far where I'm one-on-one.
Well, maybe next time you're hanging out with your mates down a biker bar, you can do a trick where you're talking to them about King Henry VIII's wives. I'm sure that it'd go down really well there.
I'm sure it would. I can't imagine that them lot are going to be interested in Henry VIII's 6 wives, but you never know.
So what are you going to give it, percentage-wise? It is limited, but it is a really great trick.
It is. It's super, super, super simple, which is fantastic. And I get to do a bit of storytelling, which I love, which is fantastic. But it's just really limited on where you could, there's no point taking this to a close-up gig. Like on Saturday, there was like 200 people there in a barn, and I had 2 hours to go and see everyone.
Right, everybody come and sit down with me. I'm going to spend 20 minutes telling you about King Henry VIII's wives.
Exactly. It wouldn't work. So because of how limited it is performance-based, I think I'd give it like 85.
85?
I do like it, and if the chance ever comes, if somebody sees me out and about and I've got my close-up case with me and wants to see this, come and ask, because I will happily perform it for you. But I don't know when I'm going to get a chance.
Yeah, I think it's a very clever method. I think that the cards are beautifully produced.
They look stunning. They feel great as well. They don't
I don't know how to describe it. This is like weird material.
Almost like a velvety type.
It's almost like a velvet. They look really, really good. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to give this 79%, which is the highest mark I can give something if I'm not going to do it, because I can see the value in this. I can see the value in somebody performing this. I can see this working really well in certain situations. I would never do this. Can you imagine me spending 20 minutes talking about King Henry VIII's wives? Like, let's sit down and form focus groups, shall we? Never gonna happen. Never gonna happen.
I like the fact that they've got the music in there as well, though, and like you can incorporate. I've never seen that before. I've never seen a trick where you incorporate a piece of music into the short of stage stuff.
And the music is a revelation as well, which is even better.
The music is which is amazingly clever. It's super, super clever.
Yeah, it's great.
It's just limited where you can actually do it.
Yeah, it's great. It's 79% from me, 85% from Matt. It's the sort of thing you'd be proud to perform if you could find a place to perform it.
If you know
what, a lot of people, 80% of people that I don't know if that's the right statistic. I read it somewhere. I think it's 80%, but I'm not too sure. I read another statistic somewhere. 97% of statistics said online are made up. So, you know, that's...
I mean, that one I believe.
Yeah, something to consider. But 80% of people that buy magic are hobbyists, amateurs.
Yeah.
And if you're a hobbyist or an amateur and you're buying stuff to show your mates, this is the sort of thing that you can just sit on your shelf in your front room. And when people come round and they go, what's that? And you go, well...
They don't look like a magic trick, though.
It doesn't.
At all. Like, if I had these sitting at home on a shelf and the lads went, oh, where'd you get them from? I'd be like, I got them from the West End when I went to see Six. There is nothing to not believe about that.
Yeah.
You could 100% believe that. There's something that they mention in there as well about saying where you got them from, and there's a castle, I can't remember what castle it is, Ludlow Castle, and they've got like a little museum thing in Ludlow Castle that you can go in, and they've actually taken these and put them on a shelf next to a bunch of books in Ludlow Castle and taken a photo of it, and you can download the photo so you can say I got them from Ludlow Castle, which I thought was really, really clever to think that far ahead and be able to give you that option to that you. And there's a whole bunch of different photos and stuff that you can print off that they give you the link for. But I mean, it's 100% believable that I would go to the West End and see Six because I
buy
did.
some cards.
And then get these as a souvenir when you're there. It's exactly the kind of thing I would do.
Yeah.
So anyone that knows me would know that is something I would do. So if I had these just sitting at home and somebody walked in and went, well, then they look quite cool. I'll be like, oh yeah, Henry VIII, Six Wives, I got them when I went to see Six in the West End. And they'll be like, oh, okay, cool. I'm like, actually, you want to try something cool?
And also the fact that the revelation is built around music.
Yeah, yeah.
It makes sense that the presentation is about Six.
Yeah.
Which is all about music. Yeah, it's brilliant, brilliant. 79% for me, 85% for Matt. If you've got a place where you think you could use this is great.
Do it.
Thank you very much for another Craig test. You're amazing. You're awesome. I'm sure you'll be back next Tuesday.
Do you want your close-up pad back?
Hope it hasn't caught shitness. Probably cursed now. Probably won't be able to do anything on it. I'll be back again next week with Matt, with another Craig test or a Matt test, and I'll be back again tomorrow with Ryland doing a review show. So I know, little shit. But we'll see you again. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Craig.
I'm Matt.
We'll see you again. Take care. Bye, everyone.
See you later.